Hey everybody, this is Dr. Langdon, board certified pediatrician, mother of 6 and grandmother to 3. And I'm here today to answer a question that was asked of me recently by a very intelligent person. So please don't think I'm trying to sound like I know it all, but about this topic I do, because I'm a pediatrician. So this friend had seen lots of advertisements on TikTok and Facebook and places like that for these parasite cleanses or detoxes for children. Let's talk about that a bit. First of all, here in the United States, we're very fortunate with clean water supplies that typically we just don't see a lot of parasite infections in children. I have seen at most pinworms. That's the most common one we see. And I did have one more case that was quite exciting. Let me tell you about it. So I was in practice and one of our nurses answered the phone and the mother on the other end of the line was absolutely hysterical, screaming, saying, we could just get bits and pieces of what she was saying. There's something in his diaper. It's alive. It's moving, and just screaming and screaming. And we requested, I don't even know if we requested that she bring the specimen in, but I tell you what, within seconds, literally seconds of hanging up the phone, the woman was there in the parking lot, ran in the front door, and had a still moving, kicking, jerking, twitching worm in a Ziploc bag, and it looked like longer than an earthworm, like pretty long, and a little bit fatter than an earthworm. So it turned out to be a roundworm or Ascaris lumbricoides, which can happen, particularly, this was in a toddler, particularly if a child has consumed soil, dirt, eating dirt that was contaminated by poop, by some animal that had that particular parasite, because animals do get parasites, a lot of parasites. So let's talk about the ones I've seen personally in real life. The pinworms are the ones that are tiny little, they look like wiggling pieces of white thread. They're tiny and they can be around the child's anal opening, and it causes intense itching or pruritus. And so parents will be concerned about it because it could even wake the kid up at night. Now, back in the day, we recommended that you put a piece of Scotch tape on their bottom and then shine a light at night. In the middle of the night, open up their little cheeks and see if the worms come to the light and then get stuck on the Scotch tape. So it's called the Scotch tape test. These days, thinking is a little bit different, and that is the anti-parasitic medicine that we use to treat pinworms is so harmless and benign that if the parent is super convinced that the child has this, then we just recommend to treat. In fact, it's common enough that the treatment's now over the counter. It's parental pamoate, and it comes in a lot of different brand names. It used to be Reese's, and at one point it was Pin X. And anyway, you know, I'm a generic kind of girl, so I don't really mind, but it is available over the counter. And if they scratch and then like eat a snack without washing their hands and have some of the eggs, the ova, and they re-ingest them, they can become reinfected. Now, there's a long list of possible causes for rectal itching, so it doesn't mean your child has pinworms if they are itching. A lot of times it's just when they're learning to wipe or some poor hygiene or various causes. So pinworms, relatively common. The roundworm, not very common. We were so delighted that day to have like a little office mascot, because all physicians are nerds, that we even preserved that worm in a little urine cup, specimen cup, and poured alcohol in there, and he lasted for a while. We named him, and I can't remember what his name was, but it was a roundworm. Now, again, this is very uncommon here in the States. I have done international medical mission trips before, and when you're in a developing country or what we used to call a third world country, it is more common. If the child maybe in that country is drinking water from a stream and there are animals upstream that are pooping in that water, it's much more common. And it was a part of our routine, really, for all the kids that came into clinic. We gave each of them a one-time dose of an anti-parasitic medicine. So there are a couple of things I want you to think about. These parasite detoxes are completely ridiculous, because if your child does have a parasite, we can treat it with the medicine that kills parasites. These detoxes don't have any medicine in them. They're not anti-parasitic detoxes. They're just like a various collection of things that have never been studied, so we don't know that they're safe. They're not monitored or regulated because they're not FDA approved, so nobody's visiting the site of the manufacturing and making sure that the same amount of milligrams are in each package, because there's no oversight whatsoever. There are zero studies to say this actually kills parasites, because it doesn't. And the scammers trying to sell you this will tell you to check the child's poop. And usually what you're seeing are tiny little pieces of partially digested food. You remember corn in a baby's diaper. And then you see those and think, oh, it was the old parasites that have been killed. No, it's all a scam. And they try to sell you on it because they want you to buy into it from a bunch of vague symptoms, like maybe some trouble sleeping, or maybe some tummy complaints, or maybe some fatigue. Well, those are all very vague and common symptoms. So, excuse me. So it's easy for them to convince you that you need to buy it for them, and you actually don't. The other reason it really worries us is because what if your child had a genuine GI problem? Well, they probably need to see their primary care provider. And if we can't figure it out, then we need to send them to a specialist, a pediatric gastroenterologist. So don't be taken in by clever schemes. We think of this as pseudoscience, all this crazy stuff that's not actually based in data, evidence, physicians, medicine, randomized controlled trials, placebo controlled, all that. That's not what's happening with these parasite cleanses and detoxes. They're pseudoscience. They're not real science. So I hope I can save you some money by avoiding a scam. I hope that made sense. Please ask me questions like this. I appreciate that question, so that I can help some people out and know what to avoid. Thanks.